You're listening to BQN. Assimilate the audio.
Infinite diversity.
Live long and prosper, and welcome to Infinite Diversity, a Star Trek Universe podcast here on the BQN Podcast Collective. I'm your host for today, Chrissie, and joining me is my co-host, Thad. Thad, how are you doing today?
I'm okay. Worried I might have a genetic brain abnormality, but other than that, I think I'm okay.
Yeah, you probably should get that checked out. Probably should, yeah. All right, and joining us
fact,
today...
I actually do, and it has been checked out. I mean...
I'm sorry, not laughing.
No, it's not a problem. It's just I'm autistic, which is a genetic brain difference. Yeah, anyway.
Yeah? No, that's all right. I just was shocked because we have thunder snow right now.
Oh, fun.
For a moment, I got excited because I thought you said Thundercats.
Well, they'll come in. Thad can attest to that. All right, cool. Thundersnow. Also joining us today is John Krikorian from the Trek Profiles podcast. John, thanks for being with us today. How you doing?
Good morning, my people. I am functioning within normal parameters.
That's
always
good.
positive.
That's a good place to be. All right, well, before we jump into our topic for the day, we'd like to take a moment to thank our Patreon patrons who make this show possible, particularly our associate producers, Carl Wonders and Justin Oser. Listeners, you can hear your name listed as one of our associate producers for a monthly subscription of just $10 at patreon.com/BQN. And with a monthly Patreon subscription of just $5, you can join our meetings of the Hive Mind on the second Saturday of each month. Watch your Patreon messages for details. Did not have any substantial news this week, did we?
Yes, actually. So Trek Movie had an interview with Alex Kurtzman, and he didn't say anything official, but heavily implied that there are more Star Trek things coming, which is something we had all been a little worried about with the cancellation of Discovery and the general pullback among all the streaming services these days. But there are more Star Trek things coming, and they may be focusing on shorter character-driven seasons of shows rather than necessarily long season arcs. So that could be interesting.
Yeah, I took it to mean something between like a short Trek and a full season of something, you know, so we might get like, 4 episodes of a character doing a thing, and it's sort of like not a mini series, but like a little Star Trek snack of some kind.
Yeah, and that sounds pretty good to me, especially if they do a bunch of different ones about different characters. I think that could be pretty fun. He did also mention that Section 31 is still on the table. So we'll see what happens with that.
Oh, goodness. Section 31. The thing that nobody knows about, that everybody knows about, that seems to be a secret, that's not a secret, that doesn't seem to be a very good organization.
Per se. They officially announced it like 3 years ago, but yeah.
Oh, I was speaking in universe, the secret.
Oh, I gotcha. Okay, I'm following you now.
Yeah. Well, we might have gotten some touches of Section 31 stuff in this week's episode, right? Or we did get some.
Yeah.
We might get some.
That might have been part. That was probably part of what John was alluding to, the fact that that Riker and Worf knew what Section 31 was.
Absolutely. And the one lesson I've learned from that is vaporize those you love when they pass so that they can't be weaponized and turned against you later.
Yeah, we can jump right to that.
It's sort of like in The Walking Dead, right? If you really love this person, you got to make sure they don't turn into a zombie after they die, right? Same thing here.
Down.
If you don't take care of it, Section 31 is going to scoop them up, and who knows what they're going to do.
So let's talk about dead bodies for a second.
Oh dear.
Oh, okay. Let me get my copy of Mary Roach's Stiff. Okay, yeah.
So
sorry, that was really weird.
We see Kirk's body from Generations, and I couldn't read it on screen, but your Kilbrand on Twitter, of course. deciphered the whole thing, and it says the body was recovered by Project Phoenix.
Yeah. Yes.
Talking about burning things and then still having them come back.
Yeah, so, I mean, obviously Phoenix immediately brings up thoughts of rebirth, so...
Oh, for me,
yeah,
it brought up thoughts of Arizona, but that's just me.
Oh, well, yeah, that's it.
I joke,
and for-profit colleges. Yeah.
So, this makes me wonder, are there, like, Kirk clones wandering around? Are we gonna get... I don't know.
To me, it just seemed like they were placing a marker for later. You know, this might be one of these situations where, you know, hey, we're going to put this thing out there and, you know, maybe some writer will pick up the thread and weave something with it, you know, in the future.
One of those, calling it now, one of those limited character-driven series is going to be William Shatner as a reborn Kirk in the 25th century.
Oh goodness. Oh, goodness. Yeah. Or maybe we'll actually see Shatner doing a voice thing on Lower Decks, now that he's been reincarnated, right? And they can tie the shows together.
Well, my understanding is that he refused to do that last season.
He's refused to do all of it except for money. They may have an easier time getting Chris Pine to come in and be Kirk, and it'll be cheaper. For
that'll make those timeline conspiracy theorists go crazy.
Okay, so before we knew from the little text on it, I was kind of hoping that would be Kelvin Timeline Kirk, and the reason they'd kept him was because of the Khan blood. Because the Kelvin Timeline has been verified, you know, later on Discovery, so that would have been a really cool little, you know, way out there, I know, but it would have been cool.
Would have been interesting. Now...
Goodness.
It does actually make sense that they would have recovered Kirk's body from Veridian 3, because we know from Generations that there was a pre-industrial society on Veridian 4, and, you know, if you think about our solar system, if we had another Class M planet in our solar system, we would have already sent, like, a mission there.
Yeah.
And... how wowed would it be to find a grave with an alien buried in it? I mean, they're gonna want to make sure that the Prime Directive doesn't apply. But why is he stored in Daystrom?
What? I mean, to me, that's recover the body, have a state funeral, you know, put him in the Starfleet equivalent of, I don't know, Arlington or something,
right?
Maybe he wanted to be Starlington.
Oh, very nice.
And not Confederate, so that helps. But or maybe he wanted to be buried back in Iowa where he grew up. I mean, there's, you know, have a nice funeral monument for him. Don't put him in a jar. What?
I mean, it seems like the kind of thing regular Starfleet would have been like, no, we have to go get the body, right? And for all the reasons you just specified. But then Section 31, like, comes in and nabs it. From regular Starfleet, I would guess, or maybe there is actually a coffin in Starlington, but it's empty because Section 31 liberated it and brought it to their little Black Ops site. I mean, you know, there's the possibilities are endless. Who knows?
There's nothing unique about Kirk's genetics that we know of, right? I mean, it's
not that we know of, yeah.
And it's well past the time, like. Okay, so like we established they stole Picard's body. There's a logic to that because if you can animate it, you can infiltrate things. If Jim Kirk shows up somewhere, people are going to be like, what? You've been dead for a very long time. Even Starfleet, who is used to time travel shit, is not going to go for that.
So I am, I think, the only person in Star Trek fandom without screener access, at least when I look at my Twitter. So I don't know anything beyond episode 6. So I'm going to venture like a working hypothesis. It's not even a prediction. It's just a hypothesis at this point. So we like those. It appears that the changelings are attempting to get a Borgified Irumodic syndrome and have it immediately infect everybody and kill them all. It seems to me that that's, I mean, you know, this is just a working hypothesis based on facts that we have. And I'm just trying to connect the dots on my own little yarn string board in my head.
That feels like a way too complicated way to just kill everyone. Like, there are easier methods.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, I think Vadic gives something away right at the beginning. When what gives away is wrong, but she's foreshadowing something when she's talking about burning. I forget the exact quote, but burning bodies in space, right? Frontier Day, the whole fleet's going to be together. Yeah. Like, you know, there's going to be some massive thing that happens that day, and I don't know. I think Irumodic Syndrome is tied in together, but what makes Picard special, the only thing I can think of is Borg stuff for his actual body. So I don't know. I feel like there's something there, but I don't know yet.
Okay, so that is something that I thought of too. I have to wonder if he's got nanoprobes left over, because like we know Seven does, but obviously he was assimilated for a much shorter time, and it seems like they've never completely assimilated him. You know, as there were some finishing touches that needed to be done. So if he's got that, then it would kind of make sense that he could pass that on to his children. Maybe, you know, it's yeah. Part of the problem too is that everything we know about the Borg is that there's no reason for any of the Borg to have any functional reproductive systems. So this would not be something that they might know about anyway.
Are we sure
they're
about
immediately
that?
Sterilizing everybody. Well, wasn't that established with Seven? Of course, she was assimilated prepubescent, so.
But there were Borg babies in Best of Both Worlds.
In Q-Who.
You're right,
But
Q-Who.
yeah.
You're right.
Yeah.
One of those episodes where they beamed on TNG, where they beamed onto a Borg cube, you know.
Well, and there was a Borg baby in Voyager, too, right?
The Borg kids in Voyager, but those kids had been assimilated from other cultures.
Yes.
Well, I thought there was a baby with them.
I think
like
there was,
for one
but
episode.
I assume that was also, but that might not be. But I think Q-Who specifically at least implied that these Borg
Baby
had
in a
been made when, you know, two Borg love each other very much.
There could be some kind of Borg reproductive strategy that we don't know about. I mean, I'm not sure it's the kind of thing they'd spend time on in the show unless it tied into something.
No.
But I could easily see something like that occurring where they, you know, identify, just like in the same way that like Alaskan sled dog people, they're like, the only thing we care about is if the dog is going to pull. If the dog pulls, we'll breed it, right? And they're like, you know, if we've got some excellent drones here, even though like one ear is not the same size as the other, and maybe they don't look quite, you know, symmetrical in the face, but you know, they're great drones. So we're gonna, you know, I could easily see the Borg doing something like that. It seems like a logical thing.
Yeah, they're not going to be doing it the old-fashioned way, so they could still sterilize them.
I suppose they could still just be cloning them from the genetic material or doing...
Or just
yeah.
taking the genetic material and doing, you know, Petri dish fertilization.
So today on the Infinite Diversity Podcast, Borg reproductive strategies.
It does actually make a certain amount of sense to sterilize from the Borg point of view, because otherwise you've got bodily functions happening that just make things annoying.
And might pull a drone away from their intended purpose.
So this actually ties into something from the episode that I want to talk about. And I'm sorry if I'm not sticking to the to the agenda.
No, well,
I'm sorry. I'm out of control.
Hey, the outline's gone at this point.
We never stick to the agenda.
Oh,
it's fine.
Okay, good. Well, then
Before you do that, though, I do want to say, I think, as we've been talking about this, what I remember where I got that from was the novel Vendetta. I think that's
the
where
first giant
that's
novel.
established. Yes, the first one. And the Borg that they rescue in that, whose name I can't remember. But, okay, John, go ahead.
Yeah, so one of the things that tends to pull me out of an episode is when they do things in Star Trek, you know, in the future, that don't even make sense today in our world. And so the example I always bring up for this is the episode of Voyager where Neelix is walking around the ship with a box full of pads, handing out letters from home. And you're like, at the time that episode was written, everyone already had email. Like, that was already a thing that existed in the real world. But here in the future, we're going to send Neelix around to hand out pads. Replicate pads, right? Put emails on them and give them to people, right? Okay, fine. It's the kind of thing I note. So
that's Neelix. That's Neelix.
I get it, but
okay, but they also hand in all their reports on pads.
Yes,
sometimes on multiple pads.
Yes,
I mean,
yes, and it's always used. You know, in the writers' room, they're like, "Why would this person be visiting this other person?" Right? Oh, because they want to give them the report. Right? I get it. I get it. But it's something that I note every time it happens. So here we have Dr. Crusher, who's a medically informed individual, and she mates with a fellow that has a genetic condition, and it never occurs to her to screen her child for this. I have been through this in my own family. My wife has a genetic condition.
Yeah.
having a child is a major thing, and like there's screening processes. You know, is he going? Is he would he have it? Would he be a carrier for it? These are things that are happening right now today in the world, like with regular people are having this done.
Yeah.
And here's Beverly.
Heck, they sometimes screen them before they're born.
Yes. And here's Beverly like,
unless you're in Florida.
I just discovered that I should probably scan my son for Irumodic syndrome, which apparently is something that you can have a genetic predilection for. That to me strained credulity. I did not like it.
Okay, here's the thing that I can go for, though, with that. When we hear about this in All Good Things, what she says to Picard is that he has a brain abnormality that can lead to Irumodic syndrome, if I remember correctly. Okay, that he didn't actually have it yet, and we know he does have it later, but we can assume he was not yet showing symptoms when Jack was conceived, and so it's entirely possible that she knew that Jack had this abnormality and was not expecting it to manifest in his 20s. It's like people
that's
can
a good
have
point.
Yeah, people can have a predilection for Alzheimer's, but if you start having hallucinations in your 20s, that's not the first thing you're going to go to. Even though people it can happen in your 20s. It's very, very rare. So I am 100%, I understand where you're coming from, but I can retcon it. So
I would see it as that would just mean that you would get screenings more often.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
So that's what that would mean, right? It's just because you have a predilection for a thing, even though it's not symptomatic, it just means that you would go get tested more, right? And we see that in the realm of medicine today, where people are like, okay, I know I have these genetic markers for this particular situation, this particular condition, so I better, get these screenings more often, right? But I don't know, it was just something that kind of struck me as I was watching the episode.
The thing with Neelix, I always kind of retconned that someone introduced him to Earth television, and he liked watching MASH, and he felt like that he was in the radar role of passing out mail. So he purposefully did that.
The thing that bugs me about that one is that there were a few letters that, like, they knew who they were from, they knew how long they were, but they somehow didn't finish downloading. Like, it's like, we're downloading this one from, this person. And then, like, an hour later, we lost that one. Like, what?
Well, think about what downloading was like in 1990, whatever it was.
True.
98.
Yeah, all we got are the email headers.
Yeah. And how big the file's supposed to be. Well,
yeah.
You could know that. Anyway, we're not talking about Voyager.
So can I just say how much I love that we're starting an episode with a really awesome villain speech? But then we fall into the trope of the villain sort of offing one of their own minions just to demonstrate, badassery.
So much for no changeling has ever harmed another.
Oh, well, that's long gone. That's long gone. Was she the one that killed him, or was it the guy standing behind her? Because at first I thought it was her, but then on later watches it seemed like the guy standing behind her did it.
I think she ordered the guy behind her to
do
it.
Okay, because she turns around.
Yeah, she turns. Yeah, I think you have to have the captions on because she turns around and she says "enough" to the guy behind her, and then he shoots the other guy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't read that as that. Yeah. Okay. Cool. Do we think she's fully a changeling, or is she? Because we still have that issue of she had to cut off her hand to talk to the thing that looks like Venom.
And then she had a very different personality while talking to it. So
right.
I do wonder if she's some sort of symbiotic relationship with two organisms. I don't know.
I can't reconcile the smoking being a changeling, because Odo had this whole thing about drinking, his beverage, and it's like all simulated, and it's like, how is she smoking? Like, I don't
Is she
understand
simulating the smoke?
Right? I don't know. There's something very weird going on here.
Well, for all we know,
she could simulate the smoke. There was the episode of DS9 with Lost, J.G. Hertzler's changeling, and he was doing fog, so it could be entirely an affectation of her burning and smoking herself.
For the benefit of the other changelings on board the ship? I'm just trying to understand I'm trying to understand it, right? And I'm just not there yet. So, part of the other thing would be, okay, if these are actual changelings all on a ship by themselves, wouldn't they all just be in like their own little mini link, like sitting in a big pot of goo, like on the bridge? Wouldn't that be the most efficient thing to do?
Yeah, why is this ship designed to be operated by humanoids?
Yeah, so there's a lot of questions, and I don't know if any of this is going to be answered. I have no idea, but this is all stuff that I'm thinking about because I'm a crazy person as I'm watching the show.
This is stuff we all think about. It's...
Oh, yeah. The smoking... I've been trying to figure out the smoking from... I think we saw that she was smoking in one of the trailers. And, that's such an odd thing in Trek. There's always going to be a reason for it. So I'm wondering if there's something associated with...
Whoa, hold on.
However she's functioning within herself and that she's delivering meds to herself. Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. I still don't know an in-universe reason, but I just now realized why she's smoking.
Okay.
From Terry Metalis' I love to reference everything point of view. The shapeshifter Martia in Star Trek 6.
Yes.
Also smoked
cigars.
Constantly.
A cigar that looked just like the one that Maddox smokes.
That's fantastic.
Good
so he said
catch.
This?
What?
He said this?
No.
Oh, okay.
It's just Terry Metalis has referenced everything in this season.
Yeah.
Every shot has a reference to something else in Star Trek.
Okay.
That's why
I had a prediction that went awry as I was watching the episode. And I'm going to share it only because this is such a deep cut that I think y'all would appreciate this.
Always.
I think it was the scene where, gosh, I forget which of the characters. There were so many briefing room scenes between two people in the episode, but there's a scene where the senior character is sitting down. I don't remember now if it was. No, I think it was LaForge, and one of the daughters comes in. And he says, "Would you sit down?" I wanted him to just say, "Would you please sit down?" I was excited. I was like, "He's going to say it. He's going to say it." Oh, he didn't say it. Oh man, I thought, if there was ever a time that they were going to throw that line in there, I thought that would have been it. I almost would have bet money in the moment as I was watching the episode for the first time he was going to say that, and it would have made me so happy. And that's not a criticism, by the way. I'm just saying, I just thought it was a missed opportunity that would have pleased me endlessly as a TMP fan.
Yeah, I just think it's almost certainly put in there, at least partially, as a reference to that, just because many other things are references to the Star Trek movies, especially the movies, but he references a lot, but he seems to really enjoy referencing the TOS movies.
And he seems to really enjoy... Oh, go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say, because it's Amanda Plummer and Christopher Plummer and Star Trek 6 and all of that, so yeah.
And he also loves to reference his own show, 12 Monkeys. I mean, there's all that red imagery going on.
Yes.
And then you have the whole, Ethan Prime is named after Ethan Cole, who is a character from 12 Monkeys that's very significant in the latter seasons, who was played by James Callis, who also played Picard's father in Picard. And it's like this meta incest inception going on here. It's really meta and just twisted around in a little ball. So I just thought that was really pleasing when I realized that. So I enjoyed that. Plus, the red imagery is very much right from 12 Monkeys that Jack is seeing all the time. It's the same visual language. And I like that because I really enjoyed 12 Monkeys. And Terry Metalis wouldn't remember this, but as I was watching the show, I was tweeting at him and he was responding to me, and it was very nice. When he wasn't getting all the action that he is now. So that was very cool.
Yeah, there was there's a scene when Starfleet is searching Daystrom. There's a scene where they cut to it, and you hear one of the people searching it reporting in saying Sternbach to Cole.
Yep.
So Sternbach is obviously a reference to Rick Sternbach, starship designer, who has also worked on Picard, I believe, but more famous for working on previous Legacy Star Trek. And then Cole is the name of the main character on 12 Monkeys. So
there's many Coles. Spoiler alert.
Yes.
There's a couple more Coles.
Oh.
So that's
I haven't gotten that far in 12 Monkeys yet.
It's a thing.
I just started watching it.
It's a thing. Well, you're just walking through the forest and the grass is tall, but you'll get there eventually. In the House of Cedar and Pine, all will be revealed.
Yeah,
so,
I'm in season 2 at the moment.
Oh, it's a glorious show, and everyone should watch it.
Yeah, I'm really liking it.
So that's all I'll say.
Okay.
Can we talk about how that pacifism thing is just not working out for Worf?
So I don't think he's necessarily.
No.
He's not using pacifism the way that you might necessarily think pacifism means. I think what he's saying is he's not resorting to violence except where he views it as required. and he seems to view it as required in a lot of situations.
Yes. The Klingon pacifist is the one that doesn't immediately take out a bat'leth.
Yeah.
So I'm reminded of
after a few minutes.
I'm reminded of an old story from a training course I used to teach, actually, on time management, and it was this idea of winning without fighting. And so there's this old story of these samurais, and they're in a boat, and the older samurai is challenged by the younger samurai to a battle to prove who's the better samurai. And the older samurai says, "Very well, since you have challenged me, I choose the place of fighting." And they come across this beautiful island, right? And he says, "I choose here." And so the younger samurai jumps out, and the older samurai just paddles away. And that's kind of the idea of winning without fighting, right? So I get it, but I mean, it's not what I would think of as the word pacifism. The beheading of people. I don't know. That's pacifism doesn't.
Yeah, but that's only on Tuesdays.
Well, that's true. No, beheadings are on Wednesdays. Wednesdays, yes, indeed, yes, indeed. We're Saturdays. I don't know what happens on Saturdays. Maybe the mighty attack tribble hunt. I don't know.
So when Riker jokes about that, he says, "You used to poke back." Frickin' when? When did Worf ever have a sense of humor on Star Trek?
Mm-hmm.
He had some quips, though. He had a dry sort of, I wouldn't say humor, but he had, I would say, a dry wit that every now and then was made manifest.
Yeah, but
a little more in the movies.
Yeah, on the movies more, but I think he usually took everything deadly serious. Like, I didn't when Riker's like, "You used to poke back, what happened to you?" I'm like, I don't necessarily know that he did.
Let's call that something that happened in the 20 some odd years that we didn't see.
Yeah, and I think that's one of the things that this episode shows us, is that these characters have had other lives and other experiences that happened to them, right? And it's always a mistake, I think, to reconnect with people 20 years later and expect them to be exactly as they were. And Picard learned this, much to his chagrin, when he calls up LaForge and he doesn't get the, "What do you need, Captain?" "Yes, sir, aye, sir." Let's make it so. And he's like, "No, step off, dude. I got other stuff going on over here." Which I can respect that. You got to realize the guy's got a family, and it's very different for him now.
Yeah,
and we still don't know. We don't know who Mom is. Although
is it Leia Brahms?
Mom is apparently on the. Well, we don't know, because he just says, what does he say? "Tell Mom we won't be home for dinner," or something like that. So she's at the museum, probably involved. I don't see Geordi marrying somebody outside of Starfleet, or outside of engineering.
Right.
So Leia Brahms makes sense. Because she's not Starfleet, but she's civilian, but she's still
And his daughters have the same names that they had in All Good Things. And in All Good Things, they do mention that his wife is Leia. They don't officially say it's Leia Brahms, but,
He married somebody else named Leia.
Yeah, he's just... It's
a little creepy.
He has a type, and that type is your first name has to be Leia.
So here's something I noticed. Why is suddenly everyone pronouncing JLP in the very French way all of a sudden? And it's not just Vadic, but they all seem to be doing this?
Well, Vadic is so over the top. That's painful to listen to.
Yes.
Who's been pronouncing it differently?
It was later on, and it was in this episode, in fact, and it was some of the Starfleet people in some of the briefing room scenes, like towards the end, I think, with Data, and there was a little bit, there was more of a hint of it that I caught it on a rewatch. I didn't write down the exact scene, but I noticed that it wasn't Vadic, and I was like, that's interesting. Okay. So I wrote that down because it just seemed unusual to me that after all these years of Picard, and all of a sudden we got Picard. Like that D sort of slid right off into the expanse. I was like,
I think Data still pronounced the D though.
Yeah, Jean-Luc Picard. Jean-Luc Picard.
Yeah.
Well, if it's, I don't know. How did Shaw pronounce his name? Shaw's from Chicago, so it's probably not...
Yeah, I don't know. The dipshit from Chicago affectation. I'm not sure what the proper pronunciation there is. And I say that as someone who loves Shaw. By the way, didn't we just love the scene of him just like having a nerd boy moment talking to LaForge? And he's like, "Picard, Riker, get out of here. LaForge, now that's a guy I want to talk to." And the little look between Seven and Picard when Shaw's fanboying out, that was just chef's kiss right there. Chef's kiss.
He's all of us. He's all of us at a convention going, oh my God.
And I know Thad will agree with me on this, and I don't mean to speak for you, Thad, but I'm sure you'll agree that Todd was just an unbelievable hit on the Star Trek cruise.
Oh, I loved him. He was amazing.
Unbelievable. Even if his character turned out horrible, I don't think, there's anyone who would say, like, that's a bad dude to be around. That is not going to happen.
Favorite things, it's a little thing, but it was on one of the first days of the cruise. I was standing in the interminably long line to go to the cruise shop to buy merch before it sold out. And Stashwick was just walking around taking photos of all the Star Trek signs with his phone. And I'm just like, that's the sort of thing that, like, we did when we got on the ship. Like, oh, look at all this Star Trek stuff. But he was doing the same thing. He's legitimately a fan. He was so excited to be on that cruise. Honestly, I bet he would have gone if they hadn't paid him.
Without a doubt.
Yeah.
Without a doubt. And what a good sport. I mean, when he got metaphorically murdered on stage during the talent show, I mean, it was unbelievable. That was like a high point of the cruise. Chrissie, you don't know this one?
I don't.
So what happened
Please
is
tell.
They did a version of the Gong Show. And they had
that in itself.
Tawny Newsome, Todd Stashwick, and who was the third?
Jeffrey Combs.
And Jeffrey Combs were the judges. And then the Gorn would come out and gong you if you'd gone on too long. So, there was a couple different acts.
Gorn was very, let's say, inconsistent with his gonging.
Yes. And I think, he was trying to be kind. He didn't want to gong people too much. But he at some point, he was like, you've gone on too long. Anyway, we digress. At one point, this guy gets up there and he's like, I'm going to tell Star Trek jokes. And so that's his talent, is he's going to do Star Trek humor. And he goes through his whole bit, which, for a talent show, of this kind, let's just say it was about what you'd expect, right? It had its highs and its lows. But as he's about to come off, he looks at the audience and he just says, it's been a real honor to share the stage with these Star Trek legends, plus whoever the fuck this is. And he points over at Todd. Oh my God.
Honestly, that was a funnier line than any of his actual jokes.
Yes. And I'm sorry you're going to have to bleep that.
That's beautiful.
I apologize for that.
Sorry.
But I mean,
No worries.
I mean, and Todd just took it like a champ. He falls on the floor, holding his heart. I mean, he played it up. It was all in good fun. It landed so well, and people lost their minds. And I was like, if you can take a hit like that, you're all right, So I don't think there was no amount of love that was insufficient for Todd in that moment. Let's just put it that way.
And you watched the ad lib, right? Of
Savage Curtain? Oh, absolutely. It's a rock of encouragement.
He was really good in that.
Tawny Newsome, by the way, should do more things on the cruise. I just want to say.
Yeah. Well, if she had been on the cruise for more than like 2 days, I think she would have.
Yeah, she was just spectacular. She was spectacular. And that's one of the things I think that's different. I don't mean to derail this. I'm sorry, but
that's fine.
I think
you're fine.
I think it's one of the things about the cruise that's a little different is there's all this alternate sort of entertainment that the talent is putting on that is not the stuff you would see at any sort of regular convention. Yep. I mean, Tim Russ might come out and do like a musical number or something with his band, or something like that. But it's just they're doing all this really weird stuff. Like the Gong Show.
They do the game shows, and it's all stuff that you do not get at a regular con, and it's honestly what I love the most about it.
And it's weird. And it's weird. But them doing the MST3K, watching a TOS episode.
That's beautiful.
I mean, it's just fantastic. It's just great.
I do need a GIF from episode 4 of Picard when Riker throws the asteroid at Vadic. I need a GIF of that with the caption, Rock of Encouragement. So
that's good.
As a quick aside, the aside, when they did the MST3K of the TOS episode, The Savage Curtain,
perfect one to do it.
Tawny Newsome, one of the voices that she did was the Excalbian, and it was and every time someone threw a rock at one of the combatants, she would just yell, "Rock of Encouragement!"
She was just a complete panic in that whole thing. It was just unbelievably funny. I mean, that stuff, I wish they would just record it and put it out as like a podcast or something. It was just unbelievable.
Yeah, and there was one scene where, like, Todd Stashwick was like doing 3 different characters all talking to each other, and yeah, it was great.
So are we going to talk about the museum scene? With all the ships?
It's pretty great.
So good.
What a moment, right? What a moment. So, I've
got the list.
I actually made, you want to go through the list first?
Yeah.
Let's do it.
So we have the Defiant. I mean, obviously, the second one.
Yes, not the Defiant.
The first one was destroyed. Well,
Sao Paulo.
The Defiant class Defiant, not the other Defiant that went to the Mirror Universe.
And the same thing true with the Enterprise-A, right? The Enterprise, not original Enterprise.
Yes. We had the Enterprise-A. We had Voyager. We have the HMS Bounty from Star Trek IV: The Voyage Home. We have the USS New Jersey, which was an unrefitted Constitution class, which named New Jersey because that's where Terry Matalas is from. Interestingly, though, they did need to have... Well, didn't need to, but they should an unrefitted Constitution class because there's a line in the TNG episode Relics when Scotty recreates the Enterprise bridge on the holodeck, and Picard walks in and says, "Constitution class, I've been to one in the Starfleet Museum."
Yep.
Nice.
So, and did you see that the guy who's doing Edge of Midnight came up with background for it?
I did see that.
Yes. Bad Socialism guy on Twitter.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, that's so cool. So cool.
We also had a Constellation class ship, which I think is probably the Stargazer, because we know that they did recover the Stargazer, and we had an Akira class ship, a Nebula class ship, and a Saber class ship. We had a Romulan Bird of Prey from TOS. We had a Katinga class Klingon ship, notably the variant of the D7, which is also what we saw. Probably its most notable appearance was Star Trek VI. We had the Excelsior, and another Excelsior class ship, the USS Pioneer, which is from Star Trek Online. And probably the most interesting one was the Enterprise NX-01, but the refit version with an engineering hall.
That's nice. They finally are able to make that canon.
Yep. So season
Very
4,
nice.
Season 5 of Enterprise actually happened. It somewhere.
Yeah. I like to, when I saw the Romulan one, I was like, I'm going to retcon that's the one that they were using in the Lower Decks episode.
So
scanning.
I was reminded of a little bit of actual U.S. Navy trivia, by the way, as I was watching that scene. Do you know the only currently authorized, currently chartered, currently still in operation U.S. Navy vessel to have sunk an enemy ship? The USS Constitution, sitting in Boston Harbor.
Yes, I was going to guess that one, actually. Yeah.
The only Navy ship to have actually sunk another Navy ship in the entire United States Navy is the Constitution.
Still in service.
Still in service.
Yes, exactly. That's what I said. Currently still chartered, which it is still on the rolls, believe it or not. So I just want to say,
how bad are things going to get if they get out the Constitution for something? I mean,
it only goes out to sea once a year for like a little jaunt around the harbor. But there is something that I felt was incredibly meta about that moment at the museum, which I even wrote it down, which is the voiceover that they're talking about at the moment that they're panning around the ships. Is they said something like evolution is not preservation, it's addition.
Oh yeah.
And I felt like that was, I don't know if it was Chris Monfett who wrote it or Terry Matalas. You never know in these group efforts who actually wrote the line, any given line in the episode, no matter who gets the credit. But I felt like that was very meta in that they're saying, look at all of this Star Trek history here, right? And the show that we're giving you is not about keeping things the same, like more of exactly that, more Voyager, more Deep Space Nine, more TOS movies or whatever. It's about the fact that we're adding to it. And I don't know, it just struck me in the moment as a very nice moment where the writers were talking directly to the fans sort of outside the show, in my opinion.
That's fantastic. I never even went there with that. But that is a fantastic commentary for all the people who are like, this isn't Star Trek.
Well,
yeah.
I might be reading too much
That's
into
beautiful.
it, and this is, and I'm very sensitive to this because I've had people on my little podcast who are very much of the opinion that Star Trek existed from 1966 to 1969, and that's all that there ever was. You know, and you see the same thing like in Star Wars where people say there's only 3 films, right? Hand shot first, there's only 3 films, right? I get it. But
I always have to turn those episodes off when you interview those people. They annoy me too much.
I get it. But, you know, part of my deal is if people say they're a Star Trek fan, I'm not going to gatekeep them, right? So I say, okay. But I have run across those people, and I disagree with their point of view. And I just thought it was really nice that in this episode, the writers are just kind of talking directly to us and saying, you know, we're revising and extending our remarks. We're not taking away anything that's gone before, but we're trying to add to it in a new and different way. And I thought it was just very, very nice. And I could be completely off base, and, you know, maybe in the moment they just thought, hey, this sounds cool to say. But I thought I would share that.
No, there's a reason that we didn't just see Alton Soong saying that.
Yeah.
There's a reason they intercut it. And that's an excellent reason. I hope that is the reason.
Now, interestingly, amusingly enough, there is discourse on the internet, as always.
Shocking.
There are some people who are saying that this episode proves that Discovery and Strange New Worlds are not canon.
What? No.
My brain
because they show a TOS-style Constitution class instead of the Strange New Worlds style.
Oh. Well, they're dumb.
Yes.
As I've...
you can't have both?
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, like, okay. I'm gonna
also,
go
never
get,
mind that in season 1 of Picard, when Picard visits Starfleet headquarters, they do show a Discovery Strange New World style one. But anyway.
Yeah. But like, okay, I'm gonna go get a 1968 Mustang, and then I'm gonna put it next to the recent one that they've just started redoing, and, you know, those aren't the same. They aren't. They're those, and nor are they both Fords, nor are they both called Mustang. Jesus age.
I've had this discussion many times before, so I'll just put it out here very briefly again, which is I'm very much of the opinion these days that Starfleet canon does not, nor has it ever existed. It's a fan invention. No, it is a fan invention. Yeah. And Star Trek has never, ever, right back to September 1966, Star Trek has never promised consistent world building with intricate details that, you know, and ironclad rules about things. And James R. Kirk and the Vulcanians, great band name, by the way, shows you right from the beginning.
The United Earth Space Probe Agency.
Yeah, the United Earth Space Probe Agency, all that stuff.
It's the first album.
You know, God, that's it. We've got it right here. But I just think that they're trying to cash a check they've never been written. And, you know, a lot of it was during the dark times in the 70s when we just didn't have new Trek coming out and people were trying to, you know, pull these threads together. And it's a fan invention. It's not something that the show has ever been overly concerned with. And I think it's folly to be trying to figure all this stuff out.
I agree.
I will give you that to a point, because I think when you get to the more recent stuff, it is at least trying to be internally consistent. It's trying. Yeah.
Trying.
Yeah.
But I mean,
like,
I can give you a whole long list of examples from every Star Trek show in which it is not consistent with the rest of Star Trek.
Absolutely.
Right, and that's why I'm saying internal to. So like if you watch, we were talking about Picard season 2 earlier, before we started recording, you know, there is a great amount of detail, a lot of information that is all intermixed in that, and it is seemingly consistent within itself. Is it consistent with, you know, what we learned in, you know, the episode Family on Next Gen? Not necessarily. But I think they're trying, because I think now they are thinking that way, and people think that way now. The thought process was not there for the earlier incarnations unless it was a soap opera, and this was not a soap opera. So, and even that, I mean,
so
we'll get into that one.
All right, counterpoint, sincerely.
Yeah.
Right. I think that, and I believe that they actually said this, and I didn't prepare this or look it up, but I think the reason that in Discovery they chose to have the time jump was because they found it so hard to try to keep everything consistent that they just didn't want to be bothered. And so they're like, we're going to invalidate the premise of our own show, which is a prequel, because it's too hard to be consistent with all the other things. And you know, which is a legitimate decision that they made. But they even said that that's the reason they're doing it.
Yeah,
was because they didn't want to bother.
I remember hearing that.
Yeah, you know, and I get it. I respect that decision.
Yeah. Yeah. Little did they know how people were going to react to Anson Mount, and they'd end up right back in the same year having to do the exact same thing. Not that I'm complaining about that by any means, but yeah. No, I am in agreement with you. It's just I feel like they're paying more attention to it now.
I get you.
And they're trying. Yeah.
I get you. You know, I wonder how the Warp 5 speed limit's doing.
Oh, that's been long gone. Well, that was explained on Voyager.
Well,
that was why
see,
Voyager
the problem
had the
is it was
bendy.
never explained on screen. It was only in the background material for the show, which is why people still bring it up. But yes, they redesigned the way the engines worked on Voyagers to prevent the damage to space that the faster speeds were doing. That's why Voyager's nacelles move up when it goes to warp. It creates a different kind of warp field. But again, that was never said on screen.
So I'll give you an example from this episode that is something I'm still thinking about, and I might have missed something here. So I'm totally open to correction or influence on any of this. And if any listeners out there want to sort me out on this, I'm very open to it. Which is that we saw that cloaking technology does advance over time, right? That was one of the key things in Star Trek 6, right? And yet, in Star Trek 6, on the fly, they were able to figure out how to break that cloak and shoot photon torpedoes at that ship. I'm having a little bit of trouble trying to figure out how, a 70, 80-year-old cloaking device still can cloak a ship that the current ships can't detect.
I wondered that as well. Also, I wondered why they had to drop the cloak to beam the people off the station when that has never been a thing before, and it was literally not a thing with that exact cloaking device in Star Trek 4.
So this is what I mean when I say, I don't, and I'm not criticizing the show with this. I want to be very clear. It's just, this is an example of what I'm talking about when I say, look, the writers are making choices for dramatic power. They're making choices for the show they want to make, and they're not going to get wrapped around the axle trying to say, oh, well, we have to be consistent. We've got squadrons of interns over here, poring over Star Trek history to make sure everything's consistent. It's like, that's just not what it's about.
Yeah.
No, maybe I'm just too used to applying a headcanon to that, because there were people talking about that on Twitter. It was last night or the night before, and actually, did you bring this up on Twitter? Maybe it was you that I was responding to. Okay, well, somebody else didn't, and I was like, well, okay, but they're not looking for them. Like I was talking about with the aromatic syndrome earlier, they're not looking for that, So you're not going to notice. Well, I'm looking for. I don't know, I'm looking for a bee's nest, so I'm not going to notice the ant that's crawling over my foot, just because it's not what's expected. Except for the fact that apparently all of the ships are now interconnected, and cloak should not have any relevance to that whatsoever if they're still kicking a transponder signal. So
yeah, they're all broadcasting.
That's where I come into an issue with that. And I can retcon the transporter thing by saying that they had to jury-rig it into the system, and it's a power issue. But again,
can I place a marker for something I want to see in a future episode? Sorry, I'm all over the place. I have so many thoughts.
Yeah, we are. That's all right.
Great scene at the end with Brent just totally tearing it up, as doing his lore into B4 into Data. It was fantastic. I really want to see just a little bit of lull.
Yes, I agree.
Yeah. I still get choked up just thinking about that episode. Just, bringing it up into my brain, right, makes me just get choked up. And I just want to see a little bit of lull in the future. And that would just be cherry on top for me.
Yeah, I agree. Speaking of, we can go back to the outline for a moment.
Oh, dear. The outline? What is that?
As if we ever did.
The outline?
No.
The outline exists like Star Trek canon, only in your mind.
Exactly, yeah. I do not want to get through this without talking about Moriarty.
Oh, absolutely.
So, thoughts?
I'm annoyed.
Okay.
The trailer led us to believe that we were getting Moriarty. And we did in a way, but it wasn't really Moriarty. And I was hoping for the return of the actual evil genius AI designed to be able to defeat Data Moriarty, and not just a manifestation of Moriarty from Data's subconscious.
The real Moriarty, as far as we know, is still living in the Matrix, as far as we know.
Right.
He's in the cube, yeah.
I feel bad for the guy.
Barkley has him, or whatever. Well, he doesn't know.
Are you sure he hasn't figured it out?
I've always wondered that.
Are we
if
sure that
really...
he's still alive? Did his storage device survive the destruction of the Enterprise D?
This is all an example. It is SETI Alpha 5 all over again. Right? Mm-hmm. Oh, here you go. You're going to be fine over there. Oh, totally forgot to check on that. Like, no one put a reminder, no one put a reminder in their email system or, their phone to say, hey, check on the dude over there. See what's going on.
Well, they lost the pad that had that. They lost that one information on it. No, I don't. In the books, it gets picked up.
Yeah.
Beautifully. And of course, those don't exist anymore. That timeline doesn't exist anymore. But
those are really good books, though.
Oh, they are so good. And we see touches of that with Data, too, which I'm very happy about. But I don't know. I always kind of just figured that was sitting on a shelf in Barclay's quarters, And I always did wonder, because that episode leaves it where you can interpret what happens at the end of that episode as he understands exactly what they've done, and he understands that that's as close as he can get.
So didn't we see the Kurlan Naskos? Didn't that survive?
Yes.
So
yes.
So why couldn't the Moriarty cube have survived?
Oh, it could have. I'm not
saying it didn't.
We don't necessarily know that it did.
Okay.
No. What I'm saying is like at the end of that episode, when I first watched it, when I was a little and all of that, and you think that like, oh, they tricked him, but more recently as I've seen it again and again, I think he understands that this is as close as he's going to get, and he knows he's in a little box on the shelf. But he understands that's that they don't have the capacity to do anything else. Now
and it still beats not being turned off in the computer like he had been.
Right. The terrifying moments of consciousness and all of that. But I did appreciate a couple episodes ago when we had the mobile emitter. And that kind of leaned toward, is Moriarty going to have one of those?
Yeah, I was wondering that. And I was hoping that...
I think that was a misdirect.
I know. It was absolutely a misdirect. I don't like when trailers tease you with something and then don't give you what you thought it was going to give you.
Yeah, it was a little bit gratuitous. I mean, it was great to see Daniel Davis again. He's spectacular in the role and just great, but it was just kind of, here's a little bit of Moriarty, I don't mean to take us off track, but I'm curious. Have either of you seen the show Severance?
No.
So you can.
It's on the list.
You can cut all this, right? But let me just tell you the premise of the show, because I think it ties directly into this issue that you're talking about. So Severance takes place in what looks like our world, although it's not necessarily answered that it is, because at one point you see a piece of mail, and it has a U.S. state abbreviation that doesn't actually exist. And so it's the kind of show where that stuff is significant. Like you're thinking like, oh, this might be a real thing. So these people work for this company that's doing some very secretive research, like at certain levels in the company. And if you want to apply for a job to work on those levels, you have to undergo a severance procedure, which is that they put a chip in your brain that when you get off the elevator on that floor, all knowledge of your outside life is removed. And so you know your name, but you don't know if you're married, where you live, what your house is like, what your shows are. Do you like sports? You just know who you are and you do your work. And then when you leave, it reverses. And you can't communicate with your other self. They don't allow any communication. Like at the beginning, no spoilers, you see a guy coming to work who's a severance guy, and he's taking his regular watch off and he's putting it in the locker, and he takes out another watch that just has the marks, like it doesn't have numbers, because you can't have any writing. Like there's a scanner that detects any writing. So at one point, this is not a spoiler really, a new person comes to work on the severance floor, and she decides that she doesn't like the work and she wants to quit. And she says this to the boss, one of the boss's bosses, actually. And he's like, well, I can pass that request along to your outside self and we'll see what they say. But they're the only ones that can do that. And so then the next day she comes to work. But remember, she has no idea that she actually left work. Like she steps into an elevator and then steps back out the elevator. Like she doesn't know what it's like to sleep or anything. So they show her a videotape of herself saying, I am the boss of us. I know what is best for us. This is the work we're doing. Get back to work and quit your whining. And anyway, the whole idea that like when you're trapped inside this other sort of universe, It might even sound appealing in a way, but it's not. And I think that that's an example of this Moriarty thing that, like, we actually don't know what's going on inside that box. And even if he accepted the fact that this is as good as it's going to get, in the, at the time scale that he's operating at, which is not bound by physical limitations, for him, this might be like 3 billion years of existence. Right? I mean, because it's not like there's a physicality. It's all electronic, right? I mean, he
doesn't have to die. Yeah.
So I can't imagine what sort of torture we put that guy under. And I just think it's something that is, it's worth talking about, and seeing that character brought all that back for me. And I feel like this guy should get some kind of resolution, because we are literally doing another SETI Alpha 5 to him.
Yeah.
That was a lot of talking. I'm sorry. I'm just going to shut up now.
How dare you talk on a podcast that's audio about talking?
Well,
you talk about Star Trek on a podcast about
really.
Star Trek,
and like philosophical things that people are thinking about. I
admit I didn't say much because you had told me all of these same things a couple weeks ago. So I was just I admit I zoned out a little bit because you had already gone over, because we talked about it on the cruise. You had gone over what Severance was.
Well, it's definitely definitely a very good show.
I do plan to watch it at some point.
Go check it out. I think it actually won some awards too. So
yeah. I mean, I've heard good things. It's just time. All right. So I guess I'm unusual in that I thought it was perfect. Worked out beautifully to have Moriarty in that spot.
Okay, yeah.
And part of that, okay, if you had asked me this, or if you had told me, like, after watching the first episode that Moriarty was going to be a little cameo and that was it, I wouldn't have liked it. But once we introduced that the baddie was the Dominion, or at least these changelings, he doesn't fit. So, fine. So this works out perfectly. To me.
In my head, and this is, again, a speculation that I had, I thought the AI was going to be Moriarty.
I did too.
That made perfect sense. I thought it was going to be either Moriarty or Lore, which...
Yeah.
Okay, I guess kind of Lore. So, I liked everything about how this came together, how they realized what the AI was, etc. I liked all of that. I don't like that an android with multiple personalities is literally the security system for Daystrom. That part I don't like.
For a hardcore black site, it seemed rather lightly defended with a AI and like a couple guys who walk around once an hour. I thought they would have had more going on, but
right.
And what what defended it before?
It's an excellent question.
Because and I inadvertently made a pun there. It was before, but
excellent use of the pun.
Thank you. Oh, I like that.
Excellent use of the word burgle.
Yes.
I loved that.
Even Shaw nodded approvingly. How great is that?
Yeah, okay. Yeah.
I like that somebody took that shot of Shaw nodding approvingly and added it to that gif of Bones and Kirk nodding to each other.
I hadn't seen that.
Glorious.
Yay! That's great. Right now I lost my... Oh, right. Yeah, so what was guarding it before? Because if this is... Okay, so this is the golem that Alton Soong recreated under the auspices of Starfleet after he gave Picard the golem he's in. So it's been there for 2 years-ish, if even that long. What was there before?
At most 2 years.
At most, yeah. So that makes no sense to me whatsoever. It would have made more sense if it were Moriarty, because you could take that all the way back to, 20 some odd years prior in the episode. But...
So before we figured out that it was Pop Goes the Weasel, my own feeling when I saw the crow was that, I know what's going to happen. He's going to have to bust out the trombone and play the solo from Nightbird. That's it. That's how he's going to defeat the AI. Yeah. That's it. It's a Nightbird. That's the music. He's got to find a trombone, and he's got to do it flawlessly on the first try. And that's how we're going to do it. That's how we're going to solve it. I was like, John, you are way off base, man. That is not going to happen. He's not taking out that trombone. But that is literally what I was thinking.
If it had been Lower Decks, that's exactly what would have happened.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, I love that. Man, I did appreciate that it was Riker that figured it out.
Yeah, and I loved that they added the footage from Encounter at Farpoint to that.
Yes, that's beautiful. Again, the internet, I saw people complaining about that on Twitter. And I'm like, no, you're supposed to be recognizing that he's remembering this. Mm-hmm. And yes, you're looking at it from third person, but whatever, that's fine. And it's just, I thought it was fantastic.
Mm-hmm. I agree. I really loved it. I thought it was just wonderful.
Mm-hmm. And I have to wonder if it was tailored specifically for him. Because Worf and Rafi are not versed in music in order to be able to recognize what those notes were. And they would have known nothing about what happened in the holodeck. So, unless Riker told the story, but that's not enough to do that. So I'm wondering, he had to have contingents for the potentiality of anybody coming on board. And I just love that. It was beautiful. Yeah.
It was great. It was great. And I really enjoyed that too. There was just so much to love in this episode. I feel like I've been too critical of it. Just the human
That's allowed.
moments.
You're coming from a place of love.
Yeah, I mean.
So that's allowed.
There were so many just wonderful human, quote-unquote human moments. Worf's humor, Seven talking about the Voyager, Shaw just nerding out over LaForge and I'm all the family dynamics going on there with them, and just the whole Raffi Seven sort of reunion. I'm practicing deceit stuff. I mean, there were just so many glorious moments in this episode. Really, it was really, really good.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I don't think we have an answer as to whether or not Raffi and Seven have broken off their relationship. I thought for sure that it wasn't, and then with what Worf says, but he talks about going into battle with lovers, and then he talks about a breakup, but the breakup is not necessarily applying to what he's seeing in front of him, so it was just kind of...
The impression I got was not that that perhaps they had decided to separate, but not in a completely amicable situation of, you're off to do secret things with Starfleet intelligence, and I'm off to be XO on this ship, and not necessarily them saying, no, we don't want to be in a relationship, but more, it's not feasible at this time situation, which is why
that makes sense.
They seemed friendly when they met.
Absolutely, yeah.
So, I got the impression that it's more that they were not they weren't really doing the long distance thing, I guess, but they also weren't necessarily broken up.
Yeah, that's kind of how I read it too.
Yeah, I'm in agreement with that. By the way, a nice little symmetry, Thad, is we were just on the cruise, and right next to where the cruise ship was parked was the Battleship Iowa Museum. And here we are watching this episode about retired starships
I was
being a
thinking
museum.
about that. Did you do the tour of the Iowa?
I have done it in the past, actually.
Okay.
It's more than you want to know. I did a back-to-back cruise out of San Pedro a couple years ago. And on the turnaround day when you're in port, it's right there. So I brought my son down and I was like, I'm going to show you some Navy stuff, son. Your dad was on the ship. Not one of these ships. I was on the submarine kind, but I'm going to show you some Navy stuff. And we had a great time walking around. It's a great tour.
It's cool.
Yeah, I did the tour with some friends the day before the cruise, the day we had good weather. And it was a lot of fun. I was laughing a little bit with some friends, not in a mean way, but in a good-natured way, that all of the volunteer tour guides had extreme retired dad energy.
I think that's what you need there.
Yeah. But no, it was really cool. I really enjoyed it. You get to walk around the entire ship and see, and there's some neat, they had a very neat section about sunken warships, like a museum area that was really cool. I really liked it. It was fun to see. It's also fascinating how long it was in service too.
Oh yeah. I mean, it was unbelievable. I mean, it was from the 40s all the way to 1991 or 92. something like that. And just the amount of like retrofitting and upgrades and all that kind of stuff that it got was just unbelievable, right? And so, and this ties into something from Discovery, which is I still can't get past the idea that like they found a way to refit this ship that was 900 years old. Wouldn't it be easier just to build a new one? I still don't understand it, but
just attach them to nacelles. It's fine.
Yeah, I think it was because of the spore drive thing. Like the Discovery had been designed to utilize the spore drive, so it's not like they had other spore drives.
Ah, fair point. Okay. All right, maybe I'll take that one. That sounds about right. Okay.
So speaking of the museum, what do you think is in Hangar Bay 12?
Enterprise D.
All the tourists that were not walking around.
That aren't
Oh,
anywhere.
those thousands of tourists? Yeah, where were they?
Locked in Hangar Bay 12 because Geordi didn't want them to see the giant starship that's got a all points bulletin, be on the lookout all over the Federation. Hopefully no one looks out the window.
I think it's Enterprise D in Hangar Bay 12.
I have seen a few people say that, and I think that would be cool. I can retcon the lack of tourists thing. It's about to be Frontier Day, so we have to shut things down in order to make sure that we have everything together for Frontier Day.
Right, but Geordi says the tourists are coming.
Okay. Well, I thought he said he had to wrangle them on a daily basis or something like that.
Well, no, he's got it. It's only a matter of time before the thousands of tourists. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's. It's like we never saw any of the tourists. That's why I was a little confused.
Well, remember my earlier point. 12, yeah. Star Trek has never been about this consistency, right? So if you want, if you want to have a really just momentary pause about it, go back and watch the episode Schisms, and then think to yourself, what about all the little children on board the Enterprise? Were they all being vivisected and reassembled? And what would that be like, right, for them? And that would be like life-changing trauma that would...
John, you just made Schisms more terrifying, which I didn't think was possible.
But, I mean, it's true, right?
Well, I mean, Schisms, they never said that they took everyone off the ship.
No, but certainly they took
found
other people.
Yeah. But not everyone.
Sure. But, I mean, I'm sure they ended up taking a couple of family members. I'm sure that happened. It has to have happened.
Well, they did, the one woman. But in alien abduction lore, which is what that's supposed to be reflective of, you don't hear of children being abducted except... Fox Mulder's sister, Samantha.
I was about to say Mulder's sister.
Yeah. Which was nice. She wasn't abducted by aliens anyway. Spoiler, it was Cancer Man, but whatever.
I can't believe you would spoil the X-Files for our listeners like that.
Sorry. You've had 20 years to watch it.
Yeah, you've had time.
Anyway. So when I first thought, the first watch of this, I kind of figured that Hangar Bay 12 was where the bounty was. Because then it is kind of, she kind of, I don't want to say leads them to thinking about the cloaking device, but, I feel like there's continuity there. So maybe that's what she was referring to, but...
Was anyone else disappointed that they took the cloaking device out of the bounty instead of taking the bounty?
Yes. I hadn't thought of that, but that would have made more sense because nobody's looking for the bounty.
And we know that Titan had a skeleton crew, so they probably would have all fit on the bounty.
So
they didn't have the sets.
They'd
have to build new sets.
I don't think it's that. I mean, I'm just sticking in universe. I get your meta explanation and I accept it. I'm just thinking that I think because the whole way it was done in the show is that it was, La Crush, if that's the ship name for them too. It was kind of their screwball comedy plan, right? So, I mean, I don't see how they could have said we need to beam everyone over there. Like, what? How would they have done it, right?
Oh, I see. Yeah.
Yeah, because that was their idea. Like, I don't think they have a way to force everyone to get over to the other ship, but they could go the other way. At least that's how I think about it in my head. I might be off base with that. I'm not sure.
No, that's true. Because if they had walked in there and said, "Why don't we just go use the bounty?" Then Geordi would have been like, "No, you can't have it." And he needed to have to deal with that emergency situation to get him to understand.
I like Kraforge better than La Crush.
So I want to go back to something you said, though, Chrissy, which I think is very important. And I think it has to do with the language and how how much attention do we think they're paying? How much attention do we think they are paying attention to language? And what I mean by that is they're saying a hangar bay. In my way of thinking, a hangar bay is an enclosed space, not a docking ring.
Yes.
So I don't see the Bounty. I would not call that a hangar bay. That's a docking ring. A hangar bay would be something enclosed, like inside the space dock, inside the doors, maybe. So,
okay, but
go ahead.
No, I see. Yeah, I see where you're coming from.
I see what you're saying there. Yes. Okay, because we know the Bounty was not in the Okay, I get what you're saying. Okay, I mean, but we could still absolutely have a giant ship in the hangar bay based on what we know from space dock.
Oh, sure.
Oh, yeah, because that is the original space dock. So yeah,
Okay, if it is truly the original space dock, it actually would not be big enough for the Enterprise D.
Okay, I was going to say that, but then I thought, am I being a canon fanboy? I wasn't going to do that, but yes, I agree. And every time I watch that in 110 whatever it is that the one?
Well, my assumption is in 11001 or whatever it is that's a different space dock that looks a lot like it but is bigger.
Yeah, it has to have bigger doors, especially with that very elongated ellipse.
The space dock from Star Trek 3 would not fit the Enterprise D, because the Enterprise, the NC-1701 Enterprise barely fits through those doors.
Well, yeah, they could have extended the doors in such a way that it didn't look like it was done.
Yeah,
but admittedly, if the saucer section is in there, it's going to be taking up most of the room inside of it. So, yeah.
You think they lifted that saucer section off the planet?
Prime Directive, man, they got it.
If they took Kirk's body, they definitely did that.
Do they call it the hot drop exhibit? Because I would love that. I bet they have a ride where you can be like, be on the Enterprise 01D as it crash lands, and like, you must be this tall to crash the Enterprise D, right? So and then you go in, they buckle you in, and, you get to watch like a Troy simulacrum, pilot the ship, and off you go. I think it would sell like gangbusters.
Yeah, like the Phoenix ride at Bozeman. Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah. It would be a holodeck program, like game. Like, can you?
Man, they should have done that in the Star Trek experience. Crash the Enterprise D saucer section.
You too could crash the Enterprise.
Are you talking about the one in Vegas?
Yeah.
Doesn't that predate? I mean, I know it existed after Generations, but
it did not predate Generations.
Okay.
The original set. It came out, I remember because there was an advertisement on my VHS copy of Generations that it was opening soon.
Okay.
VHS,
legit?
Your VHS copy. That
if I went and dug up mine, it probably would have that too. So yeah, okay. Cool.
But I know the original ride at the experience was set during TNG.
Yeah, because it was a Borg thing, right?
No, that was the second one.
No, that was the later one. That was the second one. The first one was Klingons.
Coming back in time to try to kill you the guests, because apparently you're an ancestor of Picard? Is that? Am I remembering it right? Yeah.
I remember. Yes. Okay. I remember reading about that now. Okay, cool.
Yeah, then later they added Borg. Now, unfortunately, I'm saying this because I've watched YouTube videos. I sadly never got to see the experience.
The Borg 4D invasion. Mm-hmm. That's what it was called.
I assume you did go to the experience since you live in Vegas.
Yes. In fact, my wife and I think we might have been dating at the time, and it was my birthday one year, and she asked what I wanted.
You went to the experience on a date?
And I said, she asked, she's like, anything you want to do for your birthday. Normally I'm just not like a big, like, it's my birthday, I get to celebrate. That's just not my vibe. I don't mind other people doing that. It's just not a thing I care about, because I don't like to be made a fuss over. So I'm just like, if you just want to go out to dinner somewhere, it's like, where do you want to go? And I was like, well, any place you want. I was like, Are you sure? And I was like, all right, well, I'd really like to go to the Star Trek experience and eat there, and that's exactly what we did. And, the characters walking around, she has no interest in any of this stuff. And she's like, this is weird, and I'm like, this is great. It was a completely different experience for her. But she puts up with a lot of my nonsense, so.
So I did want to touch on Jack Crusher's Ironic Syndrome again for a sec.
Yes, please.
Yeah, we did kind of just run past that. Yeah.
So, Jack keeps having these visions and whatnot. We know Ironic Syndrome is genetic, because he got it from Picard.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think Picard's mother had it? Do you think that's what caused...
Yeah.
Oh, I gotcha.
Yeah.
That is beautiful.
That could very well be the case.
That makes perfect sense. And you can even retcon that into it had not been recognized as what it was yet.
Right.
That that they thought it was just depression or...
and again, that comes back to this whole thought that normally it only appears in older people, so they may not have even... Yeah.
She became symptomatic very young.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah, because what would you say? She was in her 40s, maybe? At most?
That's what she looked, yeah.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
maybe that's part of, his family has not just a susceptibility to the syndrome, but actually a susceptibility to early onset versions of Ironic Syndrome. Which I think
the reason that didn't happen with Picard was because it got pushed aside when he was made Locutus.
Oh, the Borg kind of healed him in a way, but not completely.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Them nanoprobes were like, step off here, Ironic Syndrome. We got other plans for this guy.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay, Thad, that's awesome. You just raised the hair on my arms, and then we brought that around, and yep, that's my headcanon.
So are we coming back to the idea that they're going to try to infect everyone with Ironic Syndrome or something? Like with Borg nanoprobes?
I still don't know about that, but okay.
Okay. There are a lot of easier ways to kill people.
Yes.
Yes.
Large groups of people.
Although infecting everyone with a disease would be poetic justice.
I was about to say, yes. Great minds. Great mind. Yeah. If the Dominion is out to cause pain and not just death, then giving people a disease like that, it's beautiful, because you're going to have a situation where the entire society is going to start breaking down because no one can function personally. And then anybody who's who it doesn't hit right away, they're going to be so taken up with the care that's needed for the people who are experiencing the symptoms immediately that no one's going to be paying attention to anything that's going on. I like that.
Yeah, and
I don't know if the Borg would be relevant to that. I mean, I guess you use the nanoprobes.
Yeah, I'm just speculating as to why Picard is so necessary for all of this, right? And maybe it's the early onset concept, right? Mm-hmm. Maybe that's what it is. I don't know. I was just trying to think about what makes Picard so special biologically in this issue, right? Like, why would this be so important? And maybe it is. Maybe it's that. Maybe it's a combination. I don't know. But I do very much enjoy, which is pretty rare in Star Trek, when they do the opposite of the SETI Alpha 5 thing and they actually come back and say, like, oh, remember that time the Federation tried to do a genocide? Mm-hmm. Remember that? That actually had a consequence, right? And there's so many times when our characters, or even other people in the show, not necessarily our quote-unquote characters, do something that's so horrific and, they just kind of hand wave it away, or, you don't see, like, the consequence of that, right, going forward.
Kevin the Great and Mighty.
Yeah, well, the example, I mean, here's a simple example, right? Which is, the Harry Kim character in Deadlock, right? Going into the alternate universe, I'm sorry, but that's like life-changing stuff that would require extensive amounts of like therapy and adjustment, not like, not like, that was interesting. Anyway, on with the thing.
Take a couple days and think about it.
Yeah,
it's just our business.
And I get it. That's not what the show's about, but I love it when they bring stuff around like that. The Federation tried to do a genocide. Probably shouldn't have done that. Now we're going to see a consequence.
I thought it was interesting that Picard said that Starfleet provided the cure, and that obviously they, it was put out that happened, but not how.
Yep.
And so that is which makes perfect sense, contextual, there'd be no reason, because then Starfleet can look better, we
Starfleet
gave you
didn't want to give them the cure.
Yeah. Well, yeah, isn't that what, isn't that when Bashir and O'Brien did the Inception thing on? Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So that is interesting, because even someone as well connected as Picard does not know the actual story there.
Interesting.
It was a good exposition. I can't say that word. It was a good way of doing the exposition for people who do not know or who don't remember what had happened.
Right.
Without it feeling like Picard saying, "We're going to Titan, your old command." Yeah.
Can I bring up a lighter moment?
Yes.
I certainly hope
Please.
that in every episode we see more people, we see the Picard wine gag continue throughout the entire season. I want this in every single episode.
Yes.
And I say that as a fan of the Star Trek wines, and I'm sure I would enjoy actual Chateau Picard, but I just love the little gag. They're not playing it up too much. You know,
Nope,
it's
just
not
enough.
It's just right. You know, it's like wasabi, right? Too much, it overpowers the dish. You just want a little hint of it to just be, ooh, you get a little bit of that zing in there, and then you just move on. I love it so much. I want
Although it's
more,
interesting
please.
that Rafi did actually like it based on season 1 when Picard brought her a bottle as a peace offering.
Yeah, I think it's a season 3 thing. As far as I can tell.
Well, yeah, it starts with Shaw and Malbec. You can read that as she appreciates somebody bringing her alcohol, but I mean, yeah, I guess it goes either way. Random aside, but actually related. I have one of the old Chateau Picard T-shirts from Think Geek. Mm-hmm. Okay, and so when I wear it, it's always fun to see if somebody's like, "Oh yeah, I know what that is." Ha ha ha. I had this guy who what the hell was it? Was that like a grocery store or something? And he was like, "Oh, Chateau Picard, I love Chateau Picard, blah, blah, blah." And he starts going on and on about having visited a winery or something. And I'm just standing there looking at him going, this is not what you think it is. You're trying to chat me up, and you have no idea what's going on. And also my husband is standing next to me and you're trying to chat me up, but that's a whole other issue. But it was just beautiful. And I was like, I let him finish digging the hole. And I was like, yeah, that's pretty cool for Trek stuff, right? And he's like, what? It's a Star Trek. It's a Star Trek thing. It's Captain Picard. It's his family's winery. Oh, I thought it was something else. Yes, that's evident.
There is a real
evident.
Chateau Picard wine, though. So, I mean, like, not just the one they made for Star Trek wines, but a real Chateau Picard wine in Burgundy.
But it's not in Le Bar.
No.
Well, and
So
it's
that
also
guy may have actually been thinking of the real wine and not just making it up to chat you up. But he was probably just making it up to chat you up.
well, that's not nearly as fun as my story.
Yeah, don't go raining on everybody's
I didn't
parade.
know that.
But that's one of the reasons.
I mean, he probably still was making it up.
Yeah.
I really enjoy I did the season 1 subscription. Season 1 might be the wrong word, but I did the initial subscription to the Titmouse Lower Decks t-shirts. The first subscription. And I love all those t-shirts because, first of all, the t-shirts are really nice. They're well made and very comfortable.
And you're right by season. They've done 3 different
Is that what it is?
Season
but
runs.
Yeah.
the t-shirts are like very low-key. Like, you kind of have to know what they are. And you could, like, wear those around with the normies, and they would just think it's like some kind of cool t-shirt. It doesn't look like anything. Because there's very few.
With Badgie.
Yeah, there's Badgie, and there's like the Cerritos general purpose garment. I get that. But most of them just have just these weird designs on them that don't necessarily look like anything. And I kind of like that you can be undercover.
Yeah, I have a bunch of... I never did the subscription, but I have a bunch of them from each of the seasons. I'm a big fan of the one from season 2 that has a picture of Kayshawn, and it says Kayshawn when he was on a t-shirt.
Yes. Yes.
I had to admit, I was doing my my live tweeting thing that I do every now and then, and I was very pleased when Kayshawn, His Eyes Uncovered, came up on out of the randomizer for me to watch. So Lower Decks is always a joy.
I love Lower Decks. It is the best.
Yeah, it's made for us, right?
I'm trying to remember who it was, but there was somebody on Twitter that was really mad at Kayshawn, His Eyes Uncovered.
Dad, somebody's mad at every episode.
Yeah, that doesn't surprise me, but at the same time, I would like to know what their argument was.
Mad that apparently Giant Spock 2 had apparently had an ungrateful end and was stuck as a body on that ship. Like, it was...
He was collected, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. All right, fine.
But hey, 50-foot Spock is canon.
Well, it already was. The animated series is also canon.
Which doesn't exist, but yes, I get you. I'm joking. I'm joking.
Otherwise, and actually that brings us back to this, because I think the attack turtle was probably bred to deal with those things from the episode, the animated series episode with Glommers. Thank you. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Could be, although I will say that attack turtle was terrifying.
Yes.
That was, I mean, how often we had like 3 jump scares.
It made the same noise as an angry tribble when it did its thing.
But that's right up there with Spider Barkley bouncing off the glass. I mean, that is beautiful.
I love Spider Barkley.
I love Spider Barkley, and I hate Spider Barkley because I do.
Genesis is just such a good episode.
It's so good.
And speaking of Genesis, I wonder, like, how did Section 31 like rebuild a Genesis device?
Yeah.
I'm guessing there was some scientist that like made it, and then like Section 31 appropriated it
and put it in a deep storage.
Yeah.
So someone out there was messing around with the protomatter again.
No, well, you can have the Genesis device without the protomatter.
Well, it was the only way to make certain I don't remember the exact line now, but it was the only way to make certain
You're
things.
Right. Yep. It was the only way to make certain things work.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's what David said.
I assumed that was, Genesis device number 2 that was half built on Regula. I mean, you don't have to go too far on that one. And then
that's fair.
They could easily take the information and finish it, or have the ability to finish it.
You mean like the Enterprise space shuttle, which never actually went into space, but was just used as like a test platform to build the real ones?
Yeah.
So like they had like a sample Genesis device they were just kind of working on to get some stuff figured out, and then they built the real one. See, I'm trying to bring it around.
Or the opposite of that with the the second atomic bomb, where you have one in a backup, and then you use them both. That was really dark. I didn't. Although an appropriate metaphor
way to go.
for the Genesis device.
Okay, so pop quiz. Troy, for real or a changeling?
I think she's real.
I think she's real, but it hadn't occurred to me until just now that she might be a changeling. But I think that will thing kind of...
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Before we get away from the Section 31 collection, I didn't get a chance to rewatch, but somebody posted a picture online of the Borg Queen head in that kind of a chamber. And I don't know if that was something they put together or if that was something I missed in the episode.
I definitely didn't see that, but there were quite a few of those chambers that I wasn't able to get a good look at.
Right, okay. Because that would make sense that that's there, actually.
Oh, like the silver one? Like the defleshified Borg head?
Picard ripped out of, yeah.
Yeah, oh, wow. I did not catch that.
Like I said, I didn't either. Somebody put it up on Twitter, but I don't know if they mocked it up or if it was...
On Trek Core, they only call out a Borg vinculum, the Riemann Thaleron device, the body of Kirk, the genetically modified Tribble, and the Genesis 2.
Okay, so somebody was playing with that, and that's all right.
But there were other things. There was one that I saw when Moriarty is shooting at them. You briefly see. I wasn't able to read what the first word was, but it was something android body.
Okay. That makes sense. Probably Juliana Tainer.
Oh, there you go.
No, maybe, but like maybe she's still alive. I mean,
maybe.
Yeah, kind of surprised Juliana Tainer wasn't also inside the combined android.
Do you think Alton Soong or anyone else actually knew about that?
Well, that's an interesting question.
Yeah. I don't think anybody knew.
Picard made sure that was not actually in any kind of report.
Right. And not even her husband knew, right?
Yeah. Well, her husband did know. They told her.
Oh, yes. Okay, he did, yeah. But... Yeah, no, I don't think Alton knew about that.
That's a good point.
Particularly, well, no, she's not his mother. We still don't know.
We don't know who Alton's mother... Alton doesn't have a mother. He's a clone. We don't know that, but I assume.
They are. The Soongs cannot find anybody to actually produce children with, so they just clone themselves.
Yeah, Soongs
which says a lot about them.
Have been exact clones since at least the 21st century. I mean, it's pretty obvious.
That's
Did you see the microtrack about that this morning?
Was that?
There was a micro-trek about that this morning with Shaw and the guy from Lower Decks that said that the Wolf 359 was an inside job or whatever it was.
Changelings aren't real. The Dominion War never happened.
That's what. Yeah, that's
Chris
what
is just killing it with the micro-treks thing with Shaw. I just gotta say that is absolute gold. And if anyone's not following Shelf Nerds, you should go and look up his hashtag micro-treks and read all the ones he's doing with Shaw. They're liquid gold. Definitely amazing.
And like his series, The Conversations with Jesus. Like I was raised Catholic, but I'm not religious anymore. I love that. That is fantastic, especially the Spock one. All the philosophy and the going back and forth and comparison of the. There's a line in there. He said, "You had your warp core and I had my cross," and I'm like, "Oh, that is good. I like that." So there we go. Anyway,
also in Daystrom, we learned that Riker's mother was named Betty.
I saw that.
Because we see Riker's personnel file flash up, and his mother was named Betty, which is information we did not have.
I thought his mother would have been Catherine.
Also, he graduated 8th in his class at the Academy.
Out of how many? People say that you never know out of how many. It's not 9, because you figure it's a bigger class than that. But no, maybe I think that's pretty damn good. Yeah.
If you ever want to try to whittle together some really weird Star Trek canon, try to figure out what do they actually study and do at Starfleet Academy. Because
I know, right?
They're learning Latin. And then they're taking warp core dynamics, but then they're also taking if you were to just put together the list of all the courses that people said they took at Starfleet Academy, there is some really weird stuff that is going on in that place. That's all I gotta say.
Mm-hmm.
The way I read that is that it is not only the Academy, but it's also a liberal arts college or that kind of thing. So you have people who are going to become Starfleet officers, and then you have people who are going to become archaeologists sitting next to each other in class, and
wow, but
that's the only way that I've been able to reconcile that one myself. But
okay, I just the very idea of all these Starfleet officers sitting around trying to figure out their Latin declensions just makes me laugh. Any former Latin students out there?
No, you know what? That's for people who are dealing with languages. That's going to be something that's Uhura would have taken that, and other communications officers. Hoshi.
Wesley took it.
Well, maybe it's Picard told them to take it. You know that. But I can see where they would have language classes like that not because they want you to be able to speak Latin or read it even, but because they want you to understand how languages work and how they evolve and apply that out from there.
Also, we know that there's at least one planet out there where they speak Latin.
This is true.
What are we referring to?
The planet from Bread and Circuses.
Oh, that's right. Mm-hmm.
Panamet Kirkensis. Yeah.
Very weird.
Weird and wonderful.
I find it so strange that in the world of the Universal Translator, people are studying Latin. I don't know. It's very strange. Anyway, we're probably spending too long on that. But overall, a spectacular episode.
It is. It really is. These just keep getting better.
Okay. So, that cloaking device again. I'm sorry.
No, don't be sorry.
The reason they need the cloaking device is because all the ships are connected in a network, and other ships can tell whenever they're in range of another ship can see, can know that it's there. Mm-hmm. How would the cloaking device stop that?
Well, that's what I said earlier.
Yeah, it wouldn't.
Did you? Okay, yeah. I'm sorry.
That's okay.
You talked about how different cloaking device, older, they just should be able to see through an older cloak.
Yes.
I didn't realize you had also talked about, I'm sorry.
No, that was Chrissie's point.
I said it in passing.
That was her point. Yeah. My point was we know that the sensors have to have gotten better. And just they're doing screening for changelings routinely, which they make reference to. Once you figure out some good, cloak penetrating sensor tech, wouldn't you just have that on all the time? You know, it just, I get it. I don't mean to nitpick. I'm not trying to. I just say that this is the kind of stuff that when I see these things in the episodes, it kind of jumps out at me and I think, okay.
But yeah, I just wonder how the cloak shouldn't prevent the
network?
the communication network thing. Also, definitely getting some Battlestar Galactica vibes from that.
Yeah.
The network chips and all that.
Well, they did make a point of saying that Geordi argued against this, so maybe he knows a way to shut it off.
They're going to give Irumodic Syndrome to the Colonial Navigation Program and spread it throughout the Starfleet. That's the answer. Nice. All the ships are networked, and so they're going to infect the Borg nanoprobes into the Starfleet ships on Frontier Day. All the ships will be infected and self-destruct. That's what's going to happen. I'm being tongue-in-cheek.
Well, they might as well just use the Protostar thing then. We briefly talked about Jack and Sydney. How are we feeling about that little flirtation?
It's just a flirtation.
I'm on board for Keyforge.
Might be a thing, might not be a thing.
Yeah, okay.
I liked the scene where Jack and Seven are talking about the different ships, and Jack is geeking out about ships. I mean, we can all relate to that. And I like when Seven says, "You are your father's son," because he also has a gift for poetic drive-by observation. I love that.
Yes.
There are just so many great little lines in the episode, and I think it goes to show the level of care that they're putting into crafting this thing, and I really appreciate that when they can put in those beautiful lines that call back to something that a character does. I much prefer that kind of consistency in the show than like when they're obsessing about some technical thing. I really like that. And that was a high point of the episode for me too, for sure.
Also, I do want to talk about Geordi's uniform. I was not quite accurate last week when I said that Geordi was wearing the same uniform that we saw Ro wearing last week. It does look like the uniform Ro was wearing is just an alternate sort of leather jacket style uniform, because we see Rafi wearing it this week. But Geordi's uniform is a little different. Geordi's wearing a Commodore's uniform, which I guess is just what Commodores and possibly higher admirals wear now. And it's kind of a combination of the regular duty uniform and the jacket uniform variant.
So the one thing I'll say as a veteran is I can tell you uniforms are intensely complicated. And it is never a surprise to me to see uniforms that look nothing alike and realize they're actually all part of the same thing. I mean, I saw, this is a true thing. I actually saw a photo online. I hang out in this veterans group, and there was a photo of a presidential award ceremony. And there was a guy in his uniform, and he had on an aiguillette, which is those ropes that they have over the shoulder. And there were all these military guys weighing in on like, that is that the right shoulder? Well, what's the reg say? And like literally 7,000 comments about,
I'm sure,
uniforms, and like this is in the real world today, and just the different kinds of uniforms. And well, he has the tab on this sleeve, but on that sleeve, but what does it mean here? And it's sewn on, or is it da-da-da-da? And that it does not surprise me at all that there's lots of uniform variation. To me, that was very natural, very expected, and uniforms are a lot less uniform than people think they are. That's all I'll say about that. So I thought it was great.
Does the Navy have an officer's cape, or is that only an Army thing?
There might be in a mess dress. I don't know off the top of my head. And there's been a lot of changes. I mean, remember that where I was in the Navy in the early 90s. So things have changed a lot. So I don't know what there is today. There very well could be.
Yeah, because that's the coolest thing that I think is that there is a cape that officers can wear with their dress uniform in the Army. Very few do, but when they do, it looks amazing.
Oh, that sounds fantastic. But that's not the kind of thing I think you would normally wear. You got to have a very special occasion to go out and buy that one.
Oh yeah,
that's not the kind of thing.
That's like for like a fancy ball or something. Yeah,
super full dress. Yeah.
I have a friend who is an officer in the Army and very much wants to have one, but it's several $100s to buy it, so he just can't justify the cape that he would wear maybe like once every 5 years.
Yeah, and then you wear it, and you buy it, then you got to get it altered. Probably, it probably needs a little bit of and then a little bit of alteration, and then to get kitted out with all your correct stuff. So that's an added cost on top of all that, and then hope you don't have any body changes by the time you actually put the thing on.
Well, it's probably less worrisome with the cape, but yes.
And the Navy was even worse because we actually had two versions of every uniform. There was a summer and a winter, which were not the same. Which were not the same. So you would have two completely.
I know that from I know that from watching Jag back in the 90s and 2000s.
Oh, there you go.
All right. Well, I think we have taken this episode apart and then some. This is funny because this is what I had marked down for when we got into initial thoughts and first impressions, and which we just sailed right past that, which I love. But I wanted to make the point that as we go further and further into this season, the theme of having a found family is becoming more and more important. And then also the idea that you're bringing in your blood family into your found family, and that sometimes the found family has to take precedence. Mm-hmm. And so I think this is a very interesting theme that we've seen go throughout the season. And I think I'm looking forward to seeing how that's going to fall out.
I mean, Geordi seemed to have been out of touch with the Picard group for a long time, and same thing for Worf, right? I think he said 11 years at one point, except for the occasional sour mead. So I don't know. It's it seems like they certainly fell out of touch for a long time, and it would seem to me that if you're going to claim people as any kind of family, some level of contact is required there. So I wonder how close they really are these days.
Well, not just them, though, because you see Geordi's daughter Sydney arguing about how this is her family, and Geordi had forgotten that idea.
Right on.
And later said that he was unhappy that he had forgotten that. So it's just interesting.
Very fair.
Anything else we want to attack here?
No, I would love to know why Vadic appears to have scars.
Well, that goes back to is this person a changeling, or are they a symbiont relationship with a changeling and some kind of solid? To me, because maybe that's scars that have been caused by that.
So maybe they're like founder / Vorta hybrids or something.
Yeah, or maybe not a Vorta. I think she's supposed to be human. Or I think we're supposed to assume that she's human.
I thought
Hard to
Terry
tell
put out I think, didn't Terry actually say she was a changeling? Didn't he actually say that on Twitter?
Yeah, I think so.
Oh, did he? Okay. Well, then...
But I still wonder if she's more than just a changeling.
A super changeling. Changeling plus.
Because, again, we had the scene where she cuts off her hand and her hand gives her orders.
Yeah. And she changes personality.
Yeah.
The Venom analogy, I think, is very strong here. At least that's the one that Have you seen Venom?
I have.
John? Okay, yeah. So that's where I'm coming at with this. So, yeah. Different world, but...
Yeah, I think I see what you're going for.
the stars are interesting.
She's actually Tom Hardy.
Oh, dear. Star Trek Inception all over again.
They should have had him do the voice for the thing in her hand. That would have been something he could have done quickly. He probably would have done it on a goof. They probably wouldn't have had to pay him a lot, if anything,
And people would have lost their minds.
Yes.
Yeah. It would have been beautiful.
And some people would have gotten big mad. Of that, I am certain.
Oh, yeah.
Always. Always, always.
But as we said, there's going to be someone on the internet who gets mad about anything that happens in anything. I was going to say in Star Trek, but also just anything in general.
I got up this morning and washed my face. You have a face to wash? How dare you? How dare you?
You have
delete this tweet.
Water. You have a cloth. Yeah.
Such is the world that we live in.
All right. Well, do we have any extra final thoughts, or are we good?
I'll just say I'm enjoying the season. I have all these weird things that pop out at me that I shared on here, but they don't detract too much from the episode for me. And can't wait to see how the whole thing wraps up.
Yeah, I'm still loving it. I still am very hungry for more. And
Yay.
Looking forward to talking about next week's episode.
Right on.
Which is called Dominion.
Ooh.
All right. Well, John, we so much appreciated you being in for this discussion today. You can tell listeners where to find you online if they want to continue this conversation and, tell you how you're wrong about nitpicking things or tell you how you're right.
I don't nitpick. I'm always open to being corrected on these things, and like I said, they don't take away from the episode too much. And now that you've made the error of inviting me on the show, I'm sure you'll never repeat that again. But I can tell you that
this was fun.
If you enjoy my prattling on about Star Trek, I do a podcast called Trek Profiles, and what I do on that show is I interview Star Trek nerds about how the show has influenced their lives. And I'll give you a little bit of an exclusive. I've been doing a occasional series with people who came to Star Trek later in life, people who did not grow up in the fandom, and they have a very different perspective on the show. That's just all I'll say, because they don't know all the things that we've been talking about for 50 years now.
Yeah.
And the things that jump out at them are usually very different. So my very next episode will be one of those, with someone who just recently started watching Star Trek and now found themselves in the middle of 850 hours of catch up. And the things that they're enjoying are very different than the things that I think many of us lifers found. So I always enjoy those conversations. So every episode is a standalone. Jump in, listen to one, listen to them in any order you want. And you can find me at Trek Profiles pretty much everywhere, but I am most active on Twitter, where I also randomly select Star Trek episodes and do live tweet watch-alongs, full of love and a little bit of snark, too.
And I would recommend, listeners, if you want to check out Trek Profiles, episode 46 has a pretty interesting guest.
Oh, is that your episode, Thad? All right, I'm gonna give you a hard time, Thad, since you brought this up. You were on a Trek Ranks at roughly the exact same time, and you picked the exact same episodes for both shows.
There were a few episodes that were not the same. We had this conversation.
To have your name on my whiteboard right here. Things I oppose. Thad, you picked the same episodes.
There were a couple episodes that were not the same. It was not 100% the same. But yes, you're right. It was very similar.
I'm giving you a hard time. It was perfectly fine. But a wonderful guest indeed. So yes, please go back and listen to Thad's episode or listen to any of them and, enjoy it. And if you have an interest of being on the show, there's an interest form on my website at trekprofiles.com. So you can go check out my very detailed show notes there and find out more about what I do.
Cool. Well, thank you.
Yeah. Thanks for having me on.
All right. Thanks for being on. This was fun. Thad, where can people find you when you're not cataloging the ships at the Fleet Museum?
Ooh, I would definitely be doing that. Best place to find me is on Twitter. I'm at Tyrannicus. That's Tyranicus. You can also hear me on the podcast I do with my friend Carl called License to Spiel, where we talk about James Bond and James Bond-related things. That's license spelled with a C like the British do it. Chrissie, where can people find you when you're not stealing your cloaking device?
Yeah. Oh, so much fun. Right. In addition to here on Infinite Diversity, you can find me on History with the Szilagys here on the BQN, that history short podcast that I do with my fellow historian partner, Jason. I'm also happy to chat about our shows on the BQN Collective on Facebook. And I'm on Twitter at The Goddess Livia, that's TheGoddessLavia, where I tweet about Star Trek history and leftist politics. Oh, and I was on Trexperts Quiz this last week.
Oh, nice.
And I did not as well as I'd hoped, but that's okay. It was a lot of fun.
What was the topic?
The Dominion War.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Nice topic.
Yeah, which and the thing is too, the person that I was opposite, she's quick on the button. I mean, there was stuff I didn't know. Definitely stuff I didn't know off the top of my head. But she was quick on the button because there were a lot of times I was like, wait.
You got to think about it, pull it out of the memory banks, right?
Exactly. So, listeners, if you need an excuse to get into listening to Trexperts, then I know I was about to say if you need the excuse and you want to hear me talk about stuff, that just sounds weird. Anyway.
So, did you know I was in a Star Trek spelling bee?
Oh, I love that. I love that there is such a thing.
So,
it's recorded
awesome.
for posterity on like the old official Star Trek podcast.
That's right. It was put out as bonus content. It was at the Star Trek convention in Las Vegas, and they were looking for people to be in the Star Trek spelling bee. And all of these people that I consider much more knowledgeable fans than me, because I don't have like a lot of this immediate recall of stuff, entered this thing, including many of our mutual friends. And for some reason, I just got asked all things that I knew. And it got down. I mean,
it works out.
I remembered having to spell the traditional Bajoran instrument, the balaclavion. That was one of like the last ones I got.
Oh, that would have gotten me out.
And I spelled that one correctly. And it turned out at the spoiler alert, all the way at the end, it was me and a young lady, and we were the last two contestants. And they pulled out like the most challenging words, and neither of us could spell any of them. And so then they just said, that's it. We declare victory. You both win a prize. So there you go.
That's the right thing to do when you get to that.
Yeah, well, if they picked a Klingon word, you had to spell it not just correctly, but with like the correct capitalization and the apostrophes, and you had to do it. You had to do all of that.
No, thank you. I'm good.
Yeah, I will enter any Star Trek trivia contest ever, but I would never even think about doing the spelling bee.
Oh, God, no.
The only reason I actually did it, it's coming back to me now, the only reason I even went up there is because I remember that Jordan Hoffman, who was the host, said they needed whatever number of people, otherwise they wouldn't be able to do it. So they said, if we don't get like 10 volunteers, and I don't remember what the number was, but I was like, okay, I was really just doing it to be a good sport because I wanted the event to go, and I ended up winning a nice prize. I had a Star Trek tote bag and a couple of novels. Yeah, it was a pretty good set of prizes. So I was really happy with that. And so it was kind of a high point. And then when they released it on the Star Trek podcast, that was a real big thrill.
That's cool.
Well, don't forget to listen to all of our other great shows on the BQN, like Galaxy Class, All Good Things, Union Federation, What's the T-Bev, Trexperts Quiz, Mickey's Marvels, and History with the Szilagyi. And exclusively for our Patreon members, there's It's Green with Mark White and Amy's Math Moment.
And thank you so much for tuning into Infinite Diversity. Thank you to Zach Tripp for the wonderful theme music and Mark White for the awesome show art. Please subscribe in your favorite podcast player, and don't forget to rate and review us there as well.
If you want to reach out, you can find the network on Twitter at BQN Podcasts, or our show specifically at IDIC Podcast. You can also talk about any and all of the BQN podcasts in our Facebook group, the BQN Collective. When you next hear from us, we'll be talking about the next episode of Picard, Dominion. Until then, peace and long life.